I woke up at 7:14 a.m., as I always do, without an alarm. The light coming through the blinds was gray and indifferent, like the inside of an empty shell. Outside, the street hummed faintly with the rhythm of ordinary life. Car engines, distant horns, someone walking their dog. Everything was exactly as it should be, except for the silence in the sky. I noticed it when I opened the window to smoke. Normally, you'd hear gulls screaming this time of year, a kind of constant background quarrel above the city. But today, nothing. Just the cold hiss of traffic and my own breath. The sky was empty, no birds, no planes, not even a wisp of cloud. I remember thinking, that's strange, but I didn't feel anything beyond that. There was no panic, no sense of catastrophe, just absence. I finished my cigarette, brushed the ash off the sill, and made coffee. At work, people were whispering about it. They've disappeared everywhere, a woman from accounting said, stirring sugar into her mug. Not just here, globally. Someone laughed. Come on, globally? She nodded. It's on the news. No birds anywhere. I scrolled through my phone. Headlines stacked like bricks. Massive migration mystery. Birds gone. Nobody knows why. Experts urge calm. None of it felt real, so I turned the screen off and went back to my desk. That's when I noticed something else. The hum. At first, I thought it was the fluorescent lights, that faint, electric buzz you stop noticing after a while. But this was deeper, like the vibration of something massive turning beneath us, hidden. No one else seemed to hear it. They were typing, talking, sipping coffee. By noon, I'd convinced myself I was imagining things. That night, I met up with Anna. She worked at a bookstore and had a way of talking like she'd already read The End of Your Life somewhere and was too polite to spoil it for you. We sat on a bench by the river, drinking cheap wine from a bottle wrapped in a paper bag. Do you think they left? She asked suddenly. The birds? She nodded. Maybe, I said. Maybe they knew something we didn't. Anna smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. My grandfather used to say, birds are the messengers between heaven and earth. If they've gone silent, it means God has stopped talking to us. I laughed, but it sounded wrong in the stillness. Or maybe they just died. We didn't speak for a long time after that. The river moved slowly, reflecting the city lights in broken lines, as if the water itself were cracking. The days blurred. News anchors began to look more tired, more frightened. Scientists gave conflicting explanations. Disease, magnetic shifts, atmospheric toxins. Nobody agreed on anything. People started gathering in parks at night, staring up at the blank sky as if waiting for an answer. One evening, I joined them. Hundreds of us stood together, silent, our faces turned upward. It was strange how comforting it felt to stand among strangers and share the same unease. Then, without warning, someone screamed. I turned. A man was pointing at the horizon, trembling violently. I followed his finger and saw something. Not birds, shapes, hundreds, maybe thousands, moving in perfect formation across the edge of the sky, black against the fading Sunday. But they weren't flying like anything I'd ever seen before. They moved too smoothly, without effort, as if the air itself carried them. People began to clap and cheer. They're back, someone shouted. I wanted to believe it, but deep down, I knew. The next morning, the news was worse than silence. The birds weren't back. The shapes weren't birds at all. Every country saw them. Nobody knew what they were. Anna stopped coming to the bookstore. When I called, her phone went straight to voicemail. I walked past her apartment one evening, and the lights were off. A neighbor said she'd gone somewhere. He didn't know where. The hum beneath everything grew louder. At work, the lights flickered constantly, and we were told to remain calm, even as half the office stopped showing up. People walked around with headphones blasting music, trying to drown out the low vibration. I stopped sleeping. On the 7th day, the government announced a curfew. I sat by the window at night, smoking, staring at the empty street below. Then I heard it not the hum this time, but something sharper, like glass shattering inside my ears. I looked up. The sky had split, not metaphorically, not poetically. A jagged black line cut through the night above me, and light spilled out of it, pale, white, almost liquid, like milk pouring from a cracked jar. Something moved within that light, and I thought of Anna, and of the missing birds, and of how none of us ever noticed the silence until it was already too late. I woke up the next morning at 7:14 a.m. The blinds let in the same gray light. Outside, the gulls were screaming again. For a moment, I thought I dreamt everything. Then I noticed the ash on my windowsill. A fresh cigarette had burned itself down to nothing while I slept. I don't smoke. I stood there, staring at the filter, and a thought arrived, simple, inevitable, undeniable. Maybe this isn't my world anymore.